Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the other side of the corner. Welcome to your latest Chelsea news. Look, I've always said whenever there's a little bit of smoke, there's always a little bit of fire. Now, I don't really like this account that much, Indykaila News. I've mocked them, but at times they've got a few things right. David Ornstein, you know what? David Ornstein, haram, 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 my brother. What you did, Orny, who makes us generally all nice and horny, you created a mess with this Indykaila because you endorsed this account, and this account is now running mad. It is running mad. The Liverpool news, the Mo Salah news that this account is lapping up is incredible. Now, this account now has some news in regards to Chelsea. As I said, I don't necessarily, find this account legitimate, but you can see there's problems happening at Chelsea Football Club. You best believe none of us, majority of the fan base will tell you that no one's really Maresca out. We wish him all the best. We wish him to do well. He's progressed well. I think he's done very, very good at Chelsea Football Club. There's no two ways about that. I know some parts of the fan base might feel otherwise, but predominantly he has done a very good job. But don't mistake it for one bit. Continue the way we are continuing. When we really should have kicked off the back of Burnley, Barcelona, Arsenal, we really should have kicked off and should be closer to Arsenal and try and compete, because the squad really is good enough to beat Leeds, it's good enough to beat Bournemouth, and it's good enough to beat Atalanta. Having said that, the next few fixtures coming up is Everton, Newcastle, Aston Villa in the Premier League. In between that, there is Cardiff, but that is the fixture list in the Premier League. So when you see that, you think, wow, with the run that we've had so far, in the short period, how it's all quickly turned around for us and what is coming up, it could turn pretty ugly if we don't pick up the wins. We have to, more than you can ever imagine, need to pick up a victory against Everton. Away from home to Newcastle, potentially try and pick up a draw at least. And then against Aston Villa, you have to win. In the next 3 Premier League matches, you've got to try and secure 7 out of 9 points. And then obviously against Cardiff, you got to win, so you go to the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup. If you don't do that, regardless of us being Maresca in or Maresca out, Maresca will get himself sacked. He will get himself in deep waters. Don't pick up a victory against Everton. Don't pick up something against Newcastle. Don't pick up a victory against Aston Villa. Trust me, this cannot be sustainable. We can't sustain that on a season where, yes, there's been mishaps. Yes, sporting directors, owners, they didn't completely revamp the team. I get that, but there is enough. There is enough. When you deploy the kind of strategy you're deploying against Atalanta, where there's bare number of fullbacks in midfield, when you are showing cowardice approach, against Man United, against a few of the other clubs as well. There are certain, like Sunderland, we should be on the front foot against these sort of teams. We really should be taking the game. Leeds, we should be taking the game to these type of teams. I'm not going to sit here and say, the squad's inadequate to face these teams. No, I'm sorry. If anything, the squad shows great resilience against the bigger teams. Why is it against the lesser teams we want to screw up like that? We can't match their energy. We can't match their intensity. That doesn't make sense to me. So as I said, continue in this vein, Enzo Maresca will find himself in hot waters. And this is where this news comes into play. Exclusive. Don't sign contract. Review set. Cole Palmer issues. So 3 topics we're going to go through. Chelsea have told Oliver Glasner not to sign a new contract at Crystal Palace because the club are unsure about Enzo Maresca's long-term future. Now, as I said, I don't want to take this account's information as, the make-all and the be-all over here. But there could be some truth around this. Do not for a second think that Chelsea hierarchies, the sporting directors and the owners are not thinking contingency plan, because one cannot continue to perform in the manner that we are. And if we don't pick up victories against Everton, something against Newcastle, a victory against Aston Villa, we'll find ourselves in the bottom half of the table. We will, because the gap between 10th to second is not that much. Don't pick up the points, you're going to slide very, very quickly. So there will be a contingency plan in place that, hey, we can't prolong this. We can't continue this way. Oliver Glasner is a man that I want to now provide my opinion on it. As I said, whether the news is true or not, that's for you to decide. That's for you to decide. As I said, where there is a little bit of smoke, there's a little bit of fire, right? Oliver Glasner, for me, I like him a lot. I really do. The stuff he's done for Crystal Palace, the stuff he did prior to Crystal Palace, I believe, for Frankfurt, Eintracht Frankfurt, I believe, or was it Stuttgart? One of those teams. Might be Frankfurt, though. But I always get Frankfurt and Stuttgart confused because I feel like they wear the same sort of jersey. Anyway, Europa League winner, Oliver Glasner, FA Cup winner with Crystal Palace, won the Community Shield, Charity Shield earlier this season. And he's done a fantastic job with Crystal Palace, always consistently losing superstars. Olise, Eze, they're probably going to lose more down the track in terms of Wharton. But he still keeps on churning out results. Crystal Palace are ahead of Chelsea Football Club. Now, my thing is, Oliver Glasner, it's all well and dandy to be a manager of Crystal Palace, where obviously the expectations, the ambitions are not that high. By the way, Crystal Palace are in Conference League as well, and they're doing pretty good there too. It's all well and dandy being a manager there. How are you going to handle being a manager at Chelsea Football Club, where there is ambitions to compete for the Premier League title? And on top of that, when you're in Crystal Palace, every team want to play. They want to go after you. They don't want to sit back on Crystal Palace. When you're at Chelsea Football Club, you're going to have teams that are going to sit back. This is where I feel some of these managers, they look great. You know, we're going to touch base on Iraola as well. Thomas Frank's another one. They look great in their respective clubs, Brentford, you know, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace. But when they take a bigger job and they have to now actually be a far more progressive manager, that's where the trouble starts. However, having said all of that, I do like Oliver Glasner. I like the way he carries himself. I like the way he galvanizes his team. I like the way he gets his team to compete against the big boys. If this was to happen, there'd be no qualms about it from me. I like Oliver Glasner a lot. Let me know your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. As exclusively revealed by us, Andoni Iraola is also on the shortlist. So we know that Oliver Glasner apparently has been told, don't sign a new contract. This might be his last season as well at Crystal Palace. So we'll see what happens, where he's destined for a bigger job. Iraola is another one. Once again, I like this manager. What he's done with Bournemouth is an absolute madness. But I have more doubts on Iraola than I have on Glasner. I feel like Iraola is going to be a similar case to Thomas Frank, where initially it's going to be a bit of a shock because everyone wants to play. Everyone wants to attack Bournemouth, which makes it a little bit easier for Iraola to, defend resolutely and then counter with precision. When you're going to become a Chelsea manager, you're going to have to play in the front foot, which, Enzo Maresca is finding it difficult at times against the lesser teams to play in the front foot. That's why I feel someone like Liam Rossignol, if you have a look, the way Strasbourg plays, and I saw them I've watched them this morning your night, against Aberdeen in the Conference League. And Liam Rossignol is a manager that likes to play out from the back. He is not a manager that wants to sit back and counter-attack. He's a manager that is a progressive manager. And I feel like this is why Liam Rossignol could be a big candidate for Chelsea Football Club in the future if something was to happen to Enzo Maresca. So, yeah, pencil that name down, Liam Rossignol. I'm pretty sure they'll look into it. And also, I'm pretty sure they're looking to, Roberto De Zerbi as well of Marseille, who's done a fantastic job there too. So, let's see. I don't want Maresca to lose his job. I really don't. I want him to do well. But as I said, there comes a point where, dropping points is not sustainable anymore. We need to make something out of this season. We've gone from competing, fan base, we want to compete. We want to be as close as possible to Arsenal. And there was a moment we were 6 points. And that has just disappeared over a week. We don't also want to make being in the top four a dog race, a dog fight. We don't want that. We want to be able to just get top 4 easily. But right now, it looks like it is going to be a monumental dogfight. The technical staff are confused about the style Maresca is trying to implement, leaving the players equally baffled. Club sources believe he will struggle to get the best out of Cole Palmer tactically. Now, there were some rumors about Cole Palmer being a bit bored last season. We all know the Instagram stories when he was playing under Pochettino. It was all free. You put up a story saying, I can't remember exactly what the caption is, but the caption sort of had a hit on how Enzo Maresca, how he's been deployed under Enzo Maresca. And, the truth be told, Cole Palmer under Enzo Maresca has been a little bit underwhelming. He has. There's been times where he's been fantastic. Club World Cup final, Conference League final, the final few matches of last season. Cole Palmer was phenomenal. But predominantly Cole Palmer under Enzo Maresca has actually been a little bit underwhelming. And not just Cole Palmer, there's been a few other players that's been underwhelming. So, I can understand why some parts of the hierarchy are probably questioning, is this guy doing the right thing? And in this season, we've seen a lot of shenanigans from Enzo Maresca already. A lot of stuff that hasn't made sense. Too much experiment, which is resulting in very, very, bad outcomes. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts. This is coming from Indykaila. Obviously, it's an account that I don't really, want to give too much respect to. As I said, Ornstein, you've done a madness here, David Ornstein. You should not have endorsed this account. However, if you look at our situation right now, I could see why some of these things could be somewhat true. Let me know your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, about everything that we've gone through on that topic. Now, Maresca has proven, this is coming from a journalist named Sean DZ, whatever his name is. Let's have a look at his name. Sean Walsh, some sort of a football journalist. Looks like all the aggregators are putting out his comments, PYS being one of them. Maresca has proven his worth as one of the best up-and-coming coaches in the game, tactically evolving and managing a dressing room of adolescents, even despite the noise that follows the club. He should at least be rewarded with more players who are ready to compete in the highest spotlight. The fact Chelsea's most senior players are Tosin Adarabioyo and Robert Sanchez is a farce, and the vacuum of accountability is only for the various sporting directors and recruitment leaders to answer for all the millions and billions that Chelsea have spent in Blue Coat era. Only 2 of their signings are bona fide world class, with Caicedo and Palmer well clear of their peers. That is an absurdly low hit rate for a club that has boasted for its trading model. Now, look, there's a lot of truth here. There is. But we've talked about all of this truth last season and the season before. We're not in the business anymore. Those Caicedo moments, the Enzo Fernandez moments, I don't think they're going to happen that often enough. We're not going to go out there and buy players worth 100 million, 120 million and all that kind of. We're not going to go for players like Isak. But one thing I do want to say, simply getting superstars in a team is not a given. Ask Liverpool fans, right? You do need to make the right kind of recruitment. I liked the fact that we were going after Xavi Simons, although I wasn't fully convinced, but Eunice convinced me, and I thought, okay, fine. Now looking at it, okay, maybe it was a bullet that we dodged. Who knows? He is slowly in the last couple of games for Spurs actually doing well. I like the fact that we were linked with Fermin Lopez. I think that guy is an absolute baller. That kid is an absolute baller. But instead, we ended up with Garnacho and Gittins. I don't like that. I never wanted that, right? But I do appreciate Estevan Willian. I do appreciate Andre Santos. I do appreciate, the fact that Cucurella has bounced into gears. We could have parted ways with him. I like the fact that Achapong is an up-and-coming star as well. There are, João Pedro. Now everyone wants to talk down on João Pedro, but, at the time when we got João Pedro, we were all very, very excited. I'm still very, very happy with João Pedro. So, yes, we can sit here and complain about the sporting directors and owners, and rightly so, deservedly so. But at the same time, I think some of these comments from this journalist, you're being a bit disingenuous. you're giving too much leeway to Enzo Maresca. When you start seeing, Malo Gusto in midfield, along with Reece James, along with Cucurella, you're not utilizing Esteval when you really should be, especially when chasing the game, when it's 1-1. You're not utilizing Andre Santos when there is a bona fide, midfielder readily available. You have to start questioning, are you actually utilizing the squad at its full merit? Until and unless I can see Enzo Maresca utilizing the squad at its fullest, at its ultimate peak level, how can I sit here and say, he deserves to get more players, better players? We need to give him more experienced players. No, some of the players that we have right now, they're gaining experience. They've gained experience. Reece James got a lot of experience. Cucurella's got a lot of experience. Enzo Fernandez has a lot of experience. Pedro Neto has a lot of experience. João Pedro has been in the Premier League for a little while. So I'm not going to sit here and say, there's nothing there. There's a lot of players with ample amount of experience in the team. They played quite a lot of games at the highest level. So you need to do more. You can't tell me in the Premier League table right now, you've got Crystal Palace, you've got Everton a point behind us, you've got Aston Villa. These three teams are a lot better than us. You can't tell me. They have a lot more experience. They're a lot better than us. No, the manager, this is why I'm far more critical this season with the manager. You need to now level up. You need to now take us to the next stage and get a lot more out of this lot. That's my thought. It's all fine and dandy to sit in one side and complain. But I feel like there's quite a lot of good in the team. And this journalist talks about Robert Sanchez. If anything, Robert Sanchez has actually been one of the brightest spots this season. Robert Sanchez has actually not been a problem this season overall, bar maybe one or two moments. Now, Thierry Henry speaks out on Chelsea and backs Maresca due to what's available in the squad. You see them dominate games against sides like Barcelona, Arsenal, PSG. But against teams like this, Chelsea struggle. Why? Well, they don't have the weapons. But against teams like this, something is missing here. You see them dominate games against sides like Barcelona, Arsenal, PSG, but against teams like this also, he's referring to Atalanta. Chelsea struggle. Why? Well, they don't have the weapons to break open teams like this without Cole Palmer. They are winless in the last 4 games, but can you blame the manager? I don't think so. I don't think any of their attackers is on Cole Palmer's level, which should tell you the level they still are. Some of their players are also look fatigued. Okay, Cole Palmer was unavailable, but you had Esteval William. You didn't utilize him. You could have played with a little bit more attacking impetus, but you ended up with hella number of defenders in that game. So respectfully, Thierry Henry is saying something which, overall makes sense. But if you watch that Atalanta game and many other games this season, there's a cowardice approach. We have players that can bring a lot more attacking impetus, but our manager is choosing to not opt for that. So once again, with Thierry Henry, a little bit of being disingenuous here, because I don't think we've completely used our squad to the fullest. Yes, there's been games where we've found it difficult to open the opposition, but there's been games where we've opted not to even use that. For example, Man United, we get a red card and we decimated all our attack. Against Sunderland, we weren't in the front foot. We then ended up taking Achapong out to bring in Tosin, who ultimately made the mistake. Against Bournemouth as well, why aren't we playing in the front foot? Esteval William has a stinker against Leeds and then doesn't play against Bournemouth. Why? So these are the things I feel like we got to do better. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts. Which side of the coin are you at? How are you looking at all of these things? Do you think that if results continue in this vein, there will be potentially a change? Are you happy with some of the names that have popped up? Or do you think we need to stay patient? Let me know your thoughts. Smash up the like button. If you're here for the first time, subscribe. Hit the bell notification to stay in touch with all my content. Until next time, take care. See ya.